Hey, I think I'm live, right? Keith, I'm live. This is awesome. Hey, you recognize me, former Congressman Joe Walsh. I'm sitting in, subbing for my friend and pal, Marcus Flowers here on With All Due Respect. Really happy to be co-hosting today for Marcus and everybody who is listening right now. Thank you for listening and spread the word, share. Let's get more folks to listen this afternoon because we've got a really cool, interesting, important guest that I'm going to haul in here in a second. Madeline Summerville, my co-host, will be joining us any moment. But again, Joe Walsh, this scruffy face, haven't shaved or showered in about a week. I'm exaggerating a little bit. Sitting in for my pal Marcus Flowers. A lot to talk about today, and we're going to get to some of the news of the day later. We'll find out what that freaking madman in the White House is up to and posting later. First, though, I want to give him an intro. We've got a candidate for governor down in the state of Georgia, who I am really excited to break bread with and chat with. I'll introduce him like this. I've only been a Democrat for 10 months. I'm still a very baby new Democrat. My biggest beef against my new political party is that, man, we need real people. We need authentic people. We need fighters, just straight shooters. I don't want to have politicians. Too many Democrats sound and think and smell and look like politicians. We got to get away from that. And Jason Esteves, who is running for governor in Georgia, foots that bill. He meets that, man. An attorney, a businessman. He represented Georgia's 35th state Senate district from 2023 to 2025. He was also the board chair at the Atlanta Public Schools Board of Education back starting in 2013. And he's got a primary coming up down in Georgia, May 19th. He's a candidate for governor on the Democratic side in the state of Georgia. Let me bring Jason in right now and welcome him. And there you are, my friend.
Hey, Joe. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
It's really good to be with you. And I know you're busy. I know you're doing shit all over the place, as you should be, because, man, you got a primary about a month and a half out. But
it's coming fast.
It is coming fast. But welcome. And thank you for running for governor. I want to start like this. I want to ask the toughest question that I think candidates are asked. Should be the easiest, but it's always the toughest question. I don't think you'll have trouble with it. But let's start here. Big picture. Why the heck did you decide to run for governor of Georgia?
Yeah. Well, look, thank you so much for having me and appreciate you. You're doing a great job for Marcus Flowers and Madeline, for sure. But look, I'm running because my entire career, I've been motivated by leveling the playing field for hardworking people. And my first job, Joe, was as a middle school social studies teacher.
Awesome.
It's the hardest job I've ever done, by the way. It's also the most rewarding job I've ever had. And I taught.
By the way, Jason, stop there because I want people to understand why. I agree with what you just said as a former teacher. You said it was the hardest job you ever had. Why?
Because you are teaching 150 kids who not only rely on you for their education, but they're relying on you for mentorship. And when you're teaching in a low-income community, they're relying on you for sometimes healthcare guidance. They're relying on you for mental health services. Their parents sometimes need you to drop their kids off at their home, right? You're literally playing multiple roles in a job that is paying you. At the time, it was paying me $35,000, $40,000 a year, if that. Right. So you're being paid a lower salary compared to the work that you're putting in. And I remember it's the only job that I've had where I would, on the way home, I would just be exhausted and sometimes tears in my eyes. Like, what am I doing? But then at the end of the day, I would go to sleep, wake up the next morning, show up in my classroom. And when those kids would come in smiling faces, it would remind me why I'm doing it.
That's
And
such a Jason, I'm so glad you answered that, because that's it. It gives great insight into you, and it gives great insight into our education system. And what a look, you've got a platform as an attorney, a businessman, a lot of different things. But I think you being a teacher is really effing cool. And it's a nice platform to have, I think, to become governor of the state down there.
I would not be in public service without my experience in the classroom.
That's cool.
It's something that I didn't think about running for office or being a politician until I was in the classroom and seeing kids who were no different than me, but who did not have the same kinds of opportunities. And when I was looking into why they didn't have the opportunities and felt that the system was unfair and the system was rigged. It was rigged for folks who were not who were wealthy, who already had resources and opportunities. And I wanted to run for office and become an attorney to change the system and make the system fair. And the reason I'm running now is because far too many people feel like they've been left behind. They're working harder than they've ever worked, and they are surviving. The number of times as I crisscross Georgia that I've heard the word surviving is unacceptable in a state like we have, where we have the resources, we have the talent. We should be thriving in this state. If you work hard and you have a full-time job, you should be able to afford a place to live. You should be able to afford childcare and afford groceries and afford to take a vacation every now and then. But for too many Georgians, they don't have that opportunity, and they're barely getting by. And I believe that we need leadership in this moment that puts people over politics. And that's why I'm running, because from the time I've been in the classroom to now running for governor, I've been trying to level the playing field for hardworking people.
I like the way you said that, leveling, to help level the playing field. I think that's a great kind of platform to run on. Jason Esteves is run for governor in the state of Georgia. Spread the word about him if you're in Georgia listening right now, and you've got family and friends in Georgia, a really important Democratic primary coming up May 19th. How Jace, like, just concretely, one or two things that you think about on how we, the government, can help level the playing field.
Yeah, well, look, at the end of the day, what people ultimately care about is fairness. And in order to ensure that there's fairness and opportunity, we need to focus in on healthcare and education. The key pillars of my platform, Joe, are health, wealth, and opportunity. It's expanding access to healthcare, making sure people have opportunities to keep and grow the money in their pockets so that they can build their wealth, and opportunity for our children. So in order to level the playing field, it comes down to healthcare and education. You can't have wealth, you can't go to work if you don't have health, right? So we have to expand access to healthcare. But then you also need the knowledge to be able to get into a good paying job. So what I talk about that the governor of this state can do concretely is expanding access to health insurance, expanding access to Medicaid, making sure that we're building healthcare hubs in partnership with nonprofits, with cities and counties, to make sure that across this state, no one has to travel more than 45 minutes or an hour to get the basic services that they need. And then on the flip side of that, on the education system, things like childcare, right? Childcare helps to provide babies with the building blocks that they need to learn how to read, write, and do math. And at the same time, it provides those parents opportunities to actually go to work and provide food on their table. So we should be helping to make sure that folks have access to childcare, which is why I propose bringing universal childcare to Georgia. And then the other thing is, at the back end of your educational journey for our young adults, making sure that there are pathways to good paying jobs beyond college and serving in the military. It's why I talk about apprenticeship programs, skilled trades, investing in those who are going straight into work. Because Joe, for a generation, we've been telling kids that if they didn't go to college, that they
boom. And Jason, get on your mountaintop right now and preach. This is such a fucking pet peeve of mine. Not everybody needs to go to college.
No, look, dude, if you have hired a mechanic, a carpenter, a plumber, an electrician, a cybersecurity technician, jobs that don't need a college degree, they're making a shitload of money. And we should be celebrating the trades just as much as we celebrate those who are going to college and going to corporate America. And as governor, I'm going to make sure that we're investing in pathways to good paying jobs that don't require you to go to college. And what that does, Joe, is it helps to restore hope in our future, because there are a lot of kids today that drop out of high school because they don't see themselves going to college. And they've been told their entire life that if they didn't go to college, that they had failed. So they're like, fuck it. Why go? Why keep going? And ultimately, it makes their life more difficult. It changes their trajectory when it comes to economic opportunity. And when we talk about leveling the playing field, I'm talking about giving those children opportunities to stay out of the jail, stay out of the streets, and actually jump into good paying jobs and be able to provide for themselves and build their community.
You are, Jace, again, I'm not going to say you stumbled upon it. You've pinpointed, I think, one of the biggest issues of our time is this idea that everybody needs to go to college. We need to change that fucking idea now.
That's right.
And then again, we won't get into it right now, but then this whole thought of AI, knocking on our door tomorrow and changing everything. There's so much change afoot, and I'm so glad that you're speaking on that issue.
Look, and AI, just really quickly with AI, the jobs that are going to be preserved are the jobs that require your hands.
Bingo.
And the jobs that require you to be creative around problem solving, right? And that creativity has been lost over the last generation. Because we've been telling people you have to, very regimented, you have to do this and you have to do that, and you have to go into a big company. We need our kids to be more creative. And it's those creatives that are going to thrive in the AI world. So we need to make sure we're fostering an environment for that.
Now, Jason, you've got, I'm exaggerating, 93 candidates run for governor on the Democratic side. I'm exaggerating. But you've got a bunch of them running. I want you to toot your own horn right now for everybody listening. You've got some good folks running. I don't know all of them. What makes you different and better?
Well, look, what makes me different is the fact that I have the lived experiences of the hardworking people of the state. I was in the classroom on the front line of education. I have 2 young children going through school right now. I have a 10-year-old and 7-year-old. So when I talk about the education system, I'm talking about the education system that I'm living through right now. I'm a caregiver of a mom with Alzheimer's. My wife and I cared for my mom for many years in our home. But most importantly, I'm a small business owner, and I'm living the struggle of having to deal with Trump's economy and the instability that he has brought to our economy, and having to navigate the cost of a small business owner. And like any small business owner, when shit hits the fan, I have to step in. Very quickly, Joe, a couple weeks ago, I had cooks in my restaurant in Macon, and I live in Atlanta, an hour and a half away. I had several cooks call in because they were sick. And it was a early Sunday morning.
Don't you tell me that you went up there and you start cooking.
My wife and I rode down there. I was on the phone with my campaign team. I told them that I couldn't go to church that morning. I couldn't go to a campaign event that early afternoon. And I went down to the restaurant. I cooked bacon, sausage, doing all the things, stepping in. So when I talk about stories of folks who are making $18, $19, $20 an hour and barely making ends meet, it's because I'm breaking bread with these folks. I'm working in the kitchen with these folks. I see the challenges that we have, but I also see the opportunities that we have. And that if we make things fairer, if we give these folks opportunities, that we can actually have a more vibrant economy, we can have a brighter, better future for our state. And now not only is it my lived experiences, it's the fact that I have a vision for the future of the state that gives people something to vote for. And that's something that Democrats have not been doing very well at. We got to give people something to vote for, not just something to vote against.
Well, that's a great point. In this era of Trump, because he's so bad and so horrible, he's dominated every conversation. And
That's
so
right.
oftentimes Democrats can just say, he's bad, they're bad, vote for me. Great
Yes.
point. And I'm having fun with the fact that you and your wife drove down to Macon and put on the apron and started cooking. I love that.
It
But
was nuts. I literally had events that night, and I told the folks in the crowd, I was like, I might smell like bacon.
You smelled like bacon the whole event. By the way, not a bad smell. Not a bad smell.
True. That is true.
But it's also, that's also really cool. And it speaks to who you are. And Jason, it speaks to, give me your take on this. Again, I'm just a baby new Democrat, but one thing I always felt about the Democratic Party was so many Democratic politicians didn't seem like just like regular folk. And they always seemed and sounded like politicians. I've spent 10 minutes with you right now. Ain't no way you sound like a politician. And you just telling that story. That's like a buddy of mine would tell me that story. Give me your take on the Democratic Party. Is there any validity to one of my soft criticisms that they just need to be regular folk?
Yeah, look, over time, I think what Democratic elected leaders, and I want to be specific, it's elected leadership that has done this.
Yeah.
Because Democrats are very much normal people, but
Absolutely.
Democratic elected leaders somehow started bubbling to the top and being at the grass tops versus being in the grassroots.
Yeah.
And what makes us what makes us unique is that we are very much in the grassroots, and we should be showing people that we are normal, that we like to do things that everyone else likes to do. Look, Joe, I opened small businesses to build my own wealth, right? I like to make money.
Stop. Keith, stop the show right there. I want to stop right there. Stop the presses. Call up Fox, CNN, MS Now right now. Doggone you, Jason. You're a Democrat, run for governor of Georgia, and you just said you like to make money?
That's right. And look, you know who else likes to make money?
Who?
The folks who voted in 2020 but did not vote in 2024 because they felt like Democrats were not speaking to the issues that they cared about, right? And when you talk to those people, they're like, where's the economy in your messaging? Where is my ability to build wealth? Where is opportunity for me to take a vacation? I can't afford shit, and you aren't talking about how you can help me afford to be able to live in this state. And I think that's what the Democratic Party is missing. And that's how we win a state like Georgia, because to win a state like Georgia, the biggest opponent is not Trump. It's not converting Republicans or gaining independence, or the biggest opponent is the couch. Because in 2024, Kamala Harris lost by 115,000 votes in Georgia. And Joe, that's closer than Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Arizona, 3 states that already have Democratic governors, right? So Georgia is primed to flip. But we had over 200,000 people in Metro Atlanta alone, most of whom are Democrats, who stayed home that voted in 2020.
That voted for Biden in 20 and didn't vote in 24.
And didn't vote. We had the votes are there, but what we're missing is the message. What we're missing is the candidate with the message to get those folks off the couch and tell them that we could build a better future for our state. And I tell folks all the time that Georgia has the talent, we have the resources, but what we're missing is the leadership. And that's where my candidacy comes in.
Jason Esteves is a candidate, a Democratic candidate for governor in Georgia. If you live in Georgia, get behind this guy. If you know people who live in Georgia, tell them about this guy. Spread the word. Primary's coming up May 19th. Jason, in 24, I've said this a bunch. I campaigned every freaking day for Kamala Harris. And crazy, right? Former Tea Party guy out there knocking on doors for her.
And I appreciate you doing that.
Well, again, because you and I love this country.
There were several Republicans, former Republicans that were doing that, and certainly appreciate that.
But respond to this, Jace, because from just regular voters who don't pay attention to politics every day, in every state, battleground state, including yours that I went into, they all gave me a variation of this. Joe, I know Trump's an asshole, but Democrats kind of look down on me and don't understand me. I heard a variation of that everywhere. Give me your thought on that.
Yeah. Well, look, there were a lot of Democrats at the time in 2024 who were saying there's nothing wrong with this economy.
Yeah.
This is the best economy we've had. What are y'all talking about? People are making more money than they've ever made. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
That's what Donald Trump's saying right now.
Exactly. Exactly.
While we are all suffering with the cost of living.
Yeah.
That's what we were saying in 24. We were very much out of touch with what people were concerned about. And as a result, Donald Trump had a very simple message.
Yeah.
How do you feel today versus how you felt 4 years ago when I was president?
Yeah.
And the reality was, I can speak from a personal perspective. I was like, okay, 2020 was terrible, but 2019 was not too bad.
Yeah.
Right. And for the average person, that message of getting back to the days where you felt better economically resonated. And at the end of the day, no matter who you are in this state, whether you're agnostic to politics or you're a partisan, you care about making sure you have the resources, the money to provide for your family and to live a good life. So if Democrats aren't acknowledging that, and instead we're talking about democracy and freedom, if you don't have the resources to have a stable meal or a roof over your head, then what does freedom matter?
How do you balance that, Jace? How do you, because as you're crisscrossing the state and you've been doing it for a while, what are you mostly hearing from folks? And I'm sure the issue of Trump and the threat to democracy comes up. How do you balance what you're speaking about with folks?
I tell folks that of course fighting back against Donald Trump is a priority, but we can't fight back against them unless we have the seat of governor in Georgia, and the way we get that seat is not by solely talking about fighting against Donald Trump. I'm going to fight like hell against the president of the United States, without a doubt. But at the same time, to get the 200,000 people in Metro Atlanta that stayed home, 400,000 people across the state of Georgia that stayed home in 2024, we have to talk to them about economic issues. We have to talk to them about opportunity for a brighter future, and we have to talk to them about healthcare. So if we're not talking to them about the basics, then we're losing. So for me, it's a balance. The balance is really, yes, some of my stump speech is focused on Donald Trump, but a whole bunch of my stump speech is focused on health, wealth, and opportunity, because that's what's going to ultimately win us this election.
Have you found, Jason, the last 5 weeks having to talk more and more about this war, which I oppose, but this war and even the economic impact of this war?
You know, what's interesting is that we've become so numb to what Donald Trump is doing that people are more upset with the economic harm of the war than the war itself. And I hate to say that, but it's the fact. I was literally talking to some longshoremen, port workers earlier today, and they talked about the war in the context of shipping costs going up, making things harder for them to find work. Right. And they're like, there he goes again, doing something that makes our job a lot harder, makes it harder for us to earn a good living. So what I'm hearing the most across Georgia is that this economy is unsustainable. We can't have an economy where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And that's exactly what's happening. There are some folks in this state that are doing pretty well, but there are a hell of a lot of folks that are barely getting by. And that is where people want leaders to step in and do something about it. And it's like you said, Trump is not the cause. He's a symptom of the problem that we have in this country. And my task as governor of this state is to fight that symptom, but to also address the root causes. And that's where politics in general have failed. And this Democrat wants to make sure that we address those root causes.
What's your biggest criticism of your party? And again, we're talking not about Democratic voters. We're talking about the leadership and the party establishment. What would be some constructive criticism?
That we've catered too much to the donor class.
Got it.
And I tell folks all the time that donors have issues that they care about that are very important, right?
Yeah.
But to win elections, you have to talk to people about the fundamental issues that they're facing on the ground. A donor that contributes the legal maximum in Georgia for my campaign is $8,400.
Yeah.
If you're able to contribute $8,400 to my campaign, which I appreciate, by the way, the issues that you're facing each and every day are very different than the person who can't donate to my campaign because they don't have time to focus on politics because they're working 80 to 90 hours a week, right? The folks who are donating $8,400 are almost guaranteed to vote. We're getting their vote. It's the folks that don't show up, that aren't showing up, that are on the couch because they're tired as hell from a long shift at work, that are the ones that we're going to have to convince to come out in order to win. So if Democrats want to win in the long term, we have to focus on combating the couch. We have to focus on the issues that will get folks to rise up off their couch and actually go into the ballot box. And that means sometimes ignoring the big dollar donors and telling the donors, look, it's an important issue, but it's not something I need to be talking about right now when I'm trying to win the highest office in the state of Georgia.
Do you feel, Jason, when you talk to voters, is there kind of a feeling of hopelessness, helplessness? What's the mood of the typical voter in Georgia right now?
Without a doubt. We have a president that is feeding on our despair. Like he is literally
the way to put it, my friend.
He's trying to suck up all the hope that remains in this country. And by the way, the hope was starting to go down for a while because of the economy. And here's the other thing, Joe, is that we're actually seeing it in our communities. Young people across this country, but particularly here in Georgia, they're killing each other. They're dropping out of high school. We're seeing an increase in gun violence across the state, particularly with young people, because they don't necessarily see a future in this economy. I have young people that I've spoken to on my staff who have said that they don't plan on having children because children are too expensive. And why would you want to bring a child?
Wow, Jason. Wow. Is that telling?
That is a tragedy, but it's also should set off alarm bells with political leaders across this country that we have to restore hope in the future of this country and in the future of the state of Georgia. And that's why my campaign is so focused on giving people something to vote for, because we need to restore hope. We need to make sure that people feel like if they work a full-time job, that their future is brighter. And right now, there are too many people who are working like hell, and they feel like they're being left further behind.
Well, you should be speaking with, and you should relate to young people. You're like 19 years old. I'm kidding, everybody. Jace, you got a baby face, and I love it.
You know, what's funny is I'm young enough to where seniors think I'm young, and then I'm old enough to where young people think I'm old. I'm
milk that, Jason. Milk that for as long as you can. Hey, tell folks listening around the country about the state of Georgia. Always been a battleground state. Purple, blue, red, those silly labels. What would you call Georgia these days?
Look, I think we're a blue state waiting to be awakened by the blue wave that's coming in November of this year. We have 2 U.S. senators who are doing an amazing job, in Raphael Warnock and Jon Ossoff. Jon Ossoff is going to be on the ballot this year, and I look forward to campaigning along his side. But we also have strong Democratic strongholds throughout the state. We have Republicans in rural Georgia that feel like they've been forgotten by Republican leadership. But Republicans have had leadership at the state level for over 20 years. And we have the opportunity to change that. And like I said earlier, Georgia is primed to flip up and down the ballot. But what we need to make sure we do is that we have the right candidate with the right message to build the broad-based coalition that it's going to take to win. And Joe, by the way, that coalition is made up of the base of moderates and progressives in the Democratic Party, but it also includes those independents that don't necessarily have a home with either party, and those disaffected Republicans who don't like what Donald Trump is doing. We need a candidate that is going to speak to all of those.
I love that, Jason. I love that. You're not shutting the door to anybody down in Georgia.
No, look, I am someone that appeals to moderates, just like I appeal to progressives, just like I appeal to independents and to those disaffected Republicans. If you ever speak to Republican senators and representatives at the state capitol, they will tell you they are most concerned with my campaign because I'm the only Democrat who won't lose bits of that coalition that we're going to need to win. I literally can appeal to all those folks. And it's, Joe, going back to what we talked about earlier, it's because I'm a fairly normal guy.
You don't, hey, Jace, I've been around, I was a politician. I've been around politicians my whole life. The highest praise I'm going to give you is you don't sound like a fucking politician. you sound like a normal, interesting, engaging human being. The primary's coming up May 19th.
Yes.
And remind
Early
me.
vote starts April 27th.
April 27th. And by the way, I'm a goofhead. Keith, we're goofheads. Jace, website, is there anywhere anybody can go if they want to?
Yeah. So if you're tired of the old politics and you want a new generation of leadership, go to my website, jasonesteves.com. It's right there. I think
there it is. Boo. Thank you, Keith.
And right you can also follow me on social media at Jason Esteves on all the social media platforms.
And follow him. He's way more polite and diplomatic than I am on social media. Follow him, jasonesteves.com. There is a runoff, right? In the prime. Okay.
The top two make it, unless someone gets 50+1, which is highly unlikely in a race with 7 people on our end. And by the way, the good news is Republicans will likely have a runoff as well. They have a couple of billionaires who want to be Trump. Fighting on their end, and it's good because they have 6 people on their side. So there are going to be 2 runoffs in Georgia, one for the Republicans, one for the Democrats.
How long, Jason, between the primary and then the runoff election?
It's 4 weeks. It's a sprint.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yep. Hey, I appreciate your time, and I know you're going to be out and about campaigning. Again, the website right there, everybody, is jasonesteves.com. Damn it, he wants to be the Democratic nominee for governor of the state of Georgia because he'd like to be the governor of the state of Georgia because he's got good things he wants to do to help Georgia voters, help level the playing field. Jason, close with 2 questions. What's the most, because you got a life and you got a wife and you got kids, what's the most difficult aspect about running statewide for governor?
The fact that it's hard to balance all of the responsibilities that I have. It's hard to spend a lot of time, the quality time with your children. It's hard to be a great husband, and it's hard to manage small businesses when you're on the trail. I'm blessed with the fact that I have income coming in from my small businesses, because I wouldn't be able to run for office. In fact, 5 years ago, I would not be able to run for governor because I was my wife and I were reliant on our 9-to-5 jobs for income. I'm glad that I'm a small business owner and I don't have to be in my businesses each and every day. But the hardest piece of this is the fact that my family is giving up a lot to make sure that we're providing for the state of Georgia. This week is spring break across the state. And for spring break, my family and I are campaigning. That's what we're doing. And there are no beach trips. We're not going to the zoo or anything else. I am here on the campaign trail. So there's a sacrifice there.
Well, and I'm sure they're all behind you, and obviously your wife is excited and behind you. But I got to believe, Jace, even though your kids are young, they got to be into what you're doing.
They are.
Yeah,
they are. They think it's pretty cool. We were just in a parade over the weekend, and they had a good time. They like to be on the campaign trail, and they also understand that this is for the greater good.
Thank you.
My son, as we were driving through a neighborhood that needs a lot of investment and support, saw someone who was homeless. And this was several years ago. He's 10 now, but about 6 years old. And he asked me, why do we have homeless people? And that's a tough question.
Right.
In a state where we have $15 billion sitting in a bank account, yet we have a shortage of affordable housing across the state. As a policymaker, it was tough for me to navigate that question. But they know that what I'm trying to do is to solve some of the biggest issues that we have in the state.
I got two final quickies to close. You're elected governor. What would be the first or one of the first doggone things you want to do?
I have to start with healthcare and affordability, starting to reverse the deadly abortion ban that has led to the deaths of women in the state. I want to start with that on the healthcare side. On the affordability side, I want to tackle the tax giveaways that we're giving to data centers right now. Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos don't need tax breaks.
Thank you.
Trump's economy. That money deserves to be in the pockets of hardworking people across the state. So those are the two things I would focus on.
Okay, last question, you big jerk. And we'll end on a high note. What's been the most rewarding, exciting, freaking thing about running for governor?
Just meeting people across the state and seeing the beauty of our state. And when I say the beauty of our state, I'm not talking solely about the physical. I'm talking about the culture and the vibes that exist throughout Georgia. It's a beautiful state. We are doing amazing things. And what I'm looking to do is to take us to the next level and be the state that I know that we can all be by working together.
Perfect answer, my friend. JasonEsteves.com. JasonEsteves.com. Democrat, run for governor of the state of Georgia. Get behind him, help him, support him. Jason, my friend, keep going, brother. Keep going, keep going. We're with you.
I appreciate you.
Thanks, Jason.
Keep
and
fighting.
Thank you. Yep, absolutely. And thank you, everybody else, for letting this former congressman sit in for my friend Marcus Flowers on With All Due Respect this Wednesday. Marcus and both Madeline will be back next week because you don't want to see this messy face again. But follow Marcus, follow Madeline, be part of this podcast, support what they're doing on With All Due Respect. It was a lot of fun and an honor to sit in this week, and especially do what I love to do almost more than anything else is speak with some of this newer breed of Democrat running for office. It's what the Democratic Party needs. Jason Esteves down in Georgia running for governor fits that bill. So support him. Thank you for letting me sit in. We'll be back. Marcus and Madeline will be back. Thanks, Keith.